What's here, y'all? Welcome back to Ready to Wire. Well, we're going to take a little break from Saratoga this weekend for our sequence post, and we're going to talk about the Pacific Classic Late Pick 5. It comprises races 7 through 11 at Del Mar, and we'll start with the first leg, which is an optional claimer at 100,000, and it's the seventh race on the card, running a mile on the turf for 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. Full field of 12. It's an interesting race. Candy Bar is the lone speed, but hasn't demonstrated to me an ability to take them all the way. And there's some pretty good runners in here in good form. Most notably, Sneaker. I like and is my pick to win it. Is kind of dropping in class a bit and just appears to be in good form. And I think is just a very logical pick in here. But Hannah Buckle for Eclipse Thoroughbreds is one that seems to be progressing and heading in the right direction as well. Vibes looks pretty good in this spot. And then you've got kind of the wild card, Violetta M from South America, coming in from Argentina. Really, the appeal more than anything else is you got Hector Barrios. He's just a great turf rider on the West Coast. And don't know what we're going to get, but it is important to note that this horse did carry weight in Argentina, and that usually is a pretty good sign of some ability, and the work tab looks pretty good. So we'll throw in Violetta M, and hopefully the price won't be too terribly short. Granny Budgie fills out the selections for me. This is one who's been running in sprints, and the last couple have been kind of dull. It looks like they're trying to find get this one back on track, and stretching out to a mile may be the ticket. But anyway, this one does have prior form that tells me that a mile shouldn't be a problem. And in a race that is fairly well balanced, might present a pretty good wild card coming from off the pace. But this is certainly a race we'd want to spread in, but we're going to go with Sneaker in the seventh race. Second leg of the sequence is a maiden special weight at 100,000. It's the eighth race on the card, run at 6 furlongs for 2-year-old fillies, Calbreds. And as you might expect, it's a pretty wide open affair with 2-year-olds that are pretty evenly matched at this time. Cash was pretty good in debut, but just didn't have enough to beat Mo Haven. Kind of went 1-2 all the way around the track before being overtaken by Miss Kona, who just had a furious rush after a really slow break. This one has the look to me like longer is definitely going to be better for this one. And when I say that, I probably mean more like 2 turns. However, did show enough in debut that I would consider Cash as one we want to consider. Celia Street definitely is another one that I think is going to get better with the second start, and I think is one you certainly want to include in here. Dancing Daisy had a pretty good debut as well, and looks to, with a race under her belt, should be improved here, so I think is a logical fit. Miss Kona I'm picking because you just don't see horses who broke as slowly as she did and then just closed furiously and just had tons and tons of foot. Did have the benefit of the rail, but swung out and just had plenty of horse left, and that kind of effort just can't be overlooked. I think certainly with a better break this time, Miss Kona would be the one that you'd want to have in this race. But wide open affair, and we'll certainly spread in the maiden. Third leg of the pick 5 is the Green Flash. It's a grade 3, ninth race on the card, a 5 furlong turf sprint for 3-year-olds and up. This is an interesting race in that most of the thrust in this race shape, I think, comes from the later runners. And you don't see that too often. I mean, certainly Coppola is one we have to pay attention to. And there's some things to like. I think that being on a firmer turf course is certainly going to help if you consider Coppola's record at Gulfstream, which is a turf course unto itself, but it is very firm. Perhaps this would be advantageous. I know Dale Roman's barn was going very well at Saratoga, and So perhaps the change of scenery might help. The East Coast, getting away from Florida, Coppola usually doesn't fare too terribly well. He's okay, but I think Booksmart's going to pace him along though, and I don't see either of them being able to take him all the way. But I think they'll provide some pace. Sorrento Sky is my pick to win this race, mainly because in the last race, which you had Boss Sully, Virat, and Sorrento Sky all ran in, as well as Sumter. I really got the feeling that Sorrento Sky needed a race. Broke a little slow, and certainly that's a disadvantage in a turf sprint, but came on nicely and just had that look of a horse who needed a race coming from off the bench. And at 4 years old, this horse is certainly likely to improve. And I just think it's going to be in very good shape. It's going to certainly have a good position in comparison to some of the more prominent runners. So I like Sorrento Sky as a horse who's on his way up in this field. Boss Sully makes a lot of sense. He won that last race. And there's no reason to not put him in the mix here. I think he's in good form and he's demonstrated he's a stakes level performer. I just like Sorrento Sky for the upside a little bit more. You've got some route to sprint possibilities in here with Beyond Brilliant and as well as First Piece and Queen Maxima. First Piece certainly has some nice back class, but he hasn't been seen since last September, which is a bit of a concern. And he's never run quite this short before, but I do give him a little bit of an edge class-wise and over Beyond Brilliant, and also the fact that he has run at sprints before, not quite this short. 5 furlongs may be a little too much to ask to jack it up from that distance, but it's always a good thought when you see horses cutting back to think about them. And First Piece, I think, has enough back class that I want to consider him. Same thing can be said for Queen Maxima. A little different story for Jeff Mullins, who's very good on the turf in California. Queen Maxima is coming off of a mile effort, but is normally a sprinter. I really like the route to sprint with Queen Maxima here. I don't like the 11 hole, but I do, whenever you see that trainer taking a horse out of their element and then putting them back in after an interlude, like in this case, running in a mile, I think that bodes really well. And Queen Maxima, I expect to run a really good race, and I like in this spot as well. Motorius is just the old hard knocker and, proved last year in the turf sprint that he loves Del Mar and hasn't lost much. He had a really good second. This is a horse that I certainly think you have to consider in this race based upon his back class, and I'll expect him to run a good race as well. So it's a wide open race, in my opinion, and it certainly warrants spreading without a doubt. But we're going to go with Sorrento Sky primarily for the upside in the Green Flash. So now we've reached the featured race of the sequence, and that is, of course, the Pacific Classic. It's a Grade 1, 10th race on the card, run at 1.25 miles for 3-year-olds and up. Really pretty nice field. We know who the major players are for sure. As far as the race shape goes, I think there's definitely going to be pace. And with Tarantino in the mix, I don't think there's any doubt about that. Ultimate Gamble should be prominent as well. And certainly that bodes well for the way I see this race. I don't expect either of them to be late, but we do know Del Mar is a speed favoring track, and it is awful tough at times to come from off the pace. Fierceness, you could say what you want about the Whitney. I was there. To me, it looked like a horse who needed a race. He was in the perfect position in the stretch, and he just didn't have it. It happens with horses. Fierceness is no different. I think we're probably a little harsher on this horse than we are others because of all the antics at 2 and 3 years old. And So, I mean, I think we kind of look at this horse as a little on the idiosyncratic side or enigmatic, where he sometimes he feels like running and sometimes he doesn't. Well, I think they've worked that out. Uh, this horse has been good from the inside. He's been good from the outside. I do think he's a little better. Probably a little more preferable to have him on the outside, but I don't think the post is going to bother this horse very much. He's too good. I think he's going to sit off the leaders, and if he's on his game, he's got a really good chance to win it. The only problem I see is, and we've seen this with Fierceness, is when he has to do a lot of the heavy lifting by chasing a quick pace, sometimes it saps him a little bit in the stretch. But and I think that may be that type of situation here. However, uh, Fierceness is a very prominent win candidate. He would be my second choice, narrowly over journalism. But we'll talk about him in a second. Nysos, here's the thing with Nysos. Now I know he was headed in the right direction before he got hurt on the Derby Trail, and he's come back and he's been pretty solid. But um, when I start seeing Bob Baffert horses managed carefully, that's when I start to wonder about them. And if you look, I mean, why hasn't this horse been shipping all over the place, running in Grade One stakes races, if he's all that? Now, that is uh, is that a fair criticism? I don't know. He won the San Diego pretty handily, but he should have against that field. But now he's going to really have to step up his game at a distance he hasn't run before. Can he get the mile and a quarter? Class alone, he probably should or could. I'm not going to worry about that. Um, it's just I just wonder if there's a reason they're being so dainty with this one. Kind of like with Arabian Night was an example of it. I thought they seem to be very careful where they placed him, and when I start seeing that, that's when I wonder if you really got a horse who's the goods or not. And for that reason, I'm going to bet against him. He's the favorite on the morning line, from what I understand. I haven't seen it yet, but uh, Fierceness is certainly a hell of a lot more battle tested than Nysos is, and particularly at the distance. So, of the early pace runners or of the pace pressers, to me, Fierceness merits more consideration. But I do think Nysos will run his race, and let's be honest, when you get past the top three, uh, there isn't very much there, and so I think that Nysos could certainly factor and get into the money just on class alone. Indispensable is one that, if you're looking for a price, I think this is probably your best candidate as an overlay. Um, he seems to be headed in the right direction. He's 4 years old, so that means there's more left in the tank. And he's going to be coming from probably about mid pack. And if he hangs around while the others fall back, he's got a good chance to get into the money. But as a win candidate, no, I can't see it. The way this race sets up with the speed on the front end, uh, I think it's going to be tough for the more prominent pressers here because they're going to have to be working hard early. Plus, the other thing is that we're going to be working against each other, just sitting off of Ultimate Gambler or Tarantino, probably Tarantino, who takes the lead. So for that reason, I'm going to go with journalism. I love this horse. I've seen him at the Haskell. I don't think he was on his best game, and he won that race. Uh, he raced in all three Triple Crown races, uh, and I mean, he's just the best, second best 3-year-old behind Sovereignty. Uh, and I'll be interested to see if they ever meet again. If the tactics are a little different and maybe journalism gets going earlier, if maybe he could turn the tables. I really like him. I think he's really good. He's proven that he can just run, falling off out of bed. I mean, he's just that good. I think he's got a good scenario here. The track is a little against him. That's absolutely true. But here's my thinking: Fierces is going to be short. Nysos is going to be short, and they both run the same way, with plenty of pace in this mix. I'm going to go with the horse coming from off the pace, who I think race shape wise has things his way, and it's just a dynamite horse. And so I'm going to pick Journalism, and I'm going to single him because to me, taking Fierceness or Nysos at a really short price with this type of setup is prohibitive. So I'm going to go with one who has a better race shape. And I love Journalism, I'm not going to lie. And I'm a little partial, but I would just love to see this horse get his due by winning the Pacific Classic. So that's what we're going to do. In an interesting order of finish, the final leg of the Pacific Classic Pick 5 is the Del Mar Handicap. It's a Grade 2, 11th race on the card, running 1.3 miles on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. Pretty good field, full field of 11, I would say, and it's there's a pretty good race shape here. We always want to pay particular attention to the early pace in these marathon turf races. Excuse me, as they are 3 laps or 2 laps rather, and a lot of them are won on the front end. It just seems to be the best place to be. If we look at it from that perspective, I didn't particularly like, Stay Hot is one that, to me is kind of a teaser type of horse. It just always seems to have hinted better, and it never quite gets there. And that's what I sort of noticed in the Eddie Reed last time. Had every chance to win that race and just didn't get there. And I think that horse is kind of played out as far as what he can do. Mondigo, showed a lot of promise. I remember we were kind of high on him when he was on the East Coast, but since moving west, he really hasn't built on any of the potential. And so he's kind of another one that he did win his last race, but the figure came back light, and I don't suspect that his top end, he has one big effort for a few back, but to replicate that, I don't foresee. So I'm going to let Mondigo go. So Final Boss, I think, will be in control of this race, and I like this horse, being particularly with J.J. Hernandez. He chose, I had a couple of choices in here, and he chose Final Boss. I think that's a good sign. This horse is on the upswing. The last effort was a career high, and appears to be headed in the right direction, and that's enough for me in a race that, you do have some questions about some of the horses in here, the more prominent ones. And so to me, one that's current, one that's been racing and is headed in the right direction. And really the only question we have is the distance, but it's by American Pharaoh and has some stamina underneath. So we're going to put Final Boss on top here, and hopefully we'll get a decent price. Atiland is a 4-year-old who seems to be heading in the right direction, and I like third off the layoff for this one. Needs to get faster, for sure, but I think there's one that is progressing, was certainly competitive amongst the more prominent 3-year-olds on the West Coast, King of Gosford and amongst others. So with another step forward, I think Atiland is a fit here. Gold Phoenix is 3 for 3 at the distance, and you get Flavian Pratt. What more do you need? This horse is 7 years old, and one thing about Gold Phoenix is you have to love this horse due to the versatility. This one can win at a mile, this one can win at a mile and a half, and so on. And I remember last year in the Breeders' Cup Turf, I said I can't leave this horse off. Doesn't measure up class wise, and what does he do? He finished 4th. He's a horse who's kind of hard to figure out sometimes. Sometimes he just kind of disappears when you think he's going to run well. So there's a little bit of inconsistency here, but he's certainly a fit, and it's a distance he loves, and so I'm not going to exclude him by any means. And he has a good chance, so Gold Phoenix is one to include. Truly Quality, certainly is probably the best horse in this race on paper for Jonathan Thomas, whose barn has been kind of struggling at Del Mar. And it more than anything else, it's coming off the bench for a closer. That's really the issue for me more than anything else. Now, Truly Quality is okay um, running off the bench, but this is a rather long distance, and um, I don't know. It just it's going to be probably a short price, and um, if he runs his race, he can win this, and we're certainly going to use him in the sequence. But I want to try to beat him. I just got a feeling that maybe he won't be back all the way, and plus tactically at these longer distances, if Final Boss can get on the lead and slow it down, Truly Quality may be at a disadvantage. So we're going to go with Final Boss for the upset in the Del Mar handicap. But we're going to include Gold Phoenix and Truly Quality with a little bit of interest in Atidlan. So let's take a look at our ticket. So here's what our ticket looks like for the late pick five. It's to me this is a pretty tough sequence and requires a fair amount of spreading. In leg one, race 7, we're going to go with 1, 4, and 5. Leg 2, race 8, we're going to go for the maiden. We definitely got to spread with 2, 3, 4, and 5. Leg 3, the Green Flash, race 9. We're going to go with 4, 7, 10, and 11. We're going to single Journalism in the Pacific Classic. And then finally in the Del Mar handicap, I really like the 8, but we're going to spread a little bit with 7, 8, and 11. So that's 3 times 4 times 4 times 3. That's a $72 ticket on a 50-cent base. But I do think there's some prices in there, so it could come out with some nice value. Hope our analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy, and I wish you the best of luck as always. And certainly if you do like content like this, please like and subscribe. And thanks to all of you who continue to support our community. We've got posts for Saratoga for all the stakes races. And we'll try to have something for Sunday's Jockey Club as well. That's it from here. I'll talk to you soon. And until then, be well.